We need to know what you're talking about. President decision to back someone. That's from Engineer Lazaro. Brilliant. Engineer Lazaro says President decision to back someone from the opposition doesn't infringe any clause of the Constitution. It's upon the opposition luminaries to shelve their ambitions and take the advantage of the deep state backings in order to catch power. Okay? Okelo Mwalimu says, while the DP has been actively playing opposition politics, Raila Odinga has been meeting ambassadors, CSS, PSS, etc. Call it change of roles. The question is, will this continue after 2022 elections? It's just a matter of time. Omwando Vickery says, in addition to the economic models that seeks to fix what ails Kenya, we need a president decisive enough and with the hard skin to scatter the organized economic saboteurs. We are losing a third of our budget to corruption. This must change if we must develop. Abdurrahman Ali says, good morning. Kenyan politics is about numbers and how convincing your economic plan is. Team Uhuru plan may not be convincing at all. William Ruto, Dr. Alfred Mutua are the only serious candidates who has changed the conversation in this country. Okay? Jenga Wakungu says, for anyone to claim that Raila Odinga is a Uhuru State House project is missing the point. Raila Odinga's political history is very strong and none can match it. He has never depended on any individual or politician for political sympathy. Okay? Amaganga Mustaf says it is clear 2022 is about Ruto and Raila, but what surprises me is the coalition between all long-time politicians against one man, Ruto. He seems to be ahead with his Hustler Nation ideologies. All right. Atandi, start us off on this one. So there is a proposal, ODM is sponsoring a motion seeking to enhance the economic stimulus. Well, the program motion urges government to introduce Kazi Mtaani, Kazi Mashinani. The motion is by MP Abdul Samad, which also seeks a cash transfer to vulnerable people. MP says the plan must be backed by a mass vaccination. Is this the time to even talk about reopening the economy, Atandi? Or what is the approach on this motion?
Well, Trevor, I think this is, ODM is right in urging government. You know, motions are merely to urge government. They are not, motions are not like a law. So ODM is right to urge government to look at certain areas that needs to be addressed. One of the things that we believe should be addressed is this issue of Kazi Mtaani. You know, Kazi Mtaani was there at the onset of COVID, but lately I think the government folded that program. And that program was very important for the youth in the towns, in the slums, because most of the livelihoods were destroyed when the COVID pandemic set on. So I think what we are urging government to do is basically to go back to those programs so that our youth in the slums, in the estates can be able to get some livelihood. Also, there's this issue of the night economy. Night economy is very, very significant for revenue generation. Last time KRA appeared before us, and the amount of taxes that they've lost because of the closure of night economy is very substantial. And a lot of livelihoods depend on the night economy. So we think that it is time that the government really does away with these curfews so that at night people can be able to, you know, livelihoods can be sustained, the night economy can sustain livelihoods.
Yeah. So,
and apart from that, you know, our party leader is doing so much in terms of influencing policy. Last time you saw our party leader met the Matatu sector, and because of those conversations that now Matatus are now allowed to carry full capacity. So we are trying to do our best as opposition to see how we can be able to participate in helping our people. Also, just recently you saw our party leader influencing the law on the Skiza, you know, for the artists. The artists complain that the law is not favoring them in terms of the returns they get on their Skiza tunes. So we are doing so much in terms of trying to help our people. We are not just want to be an opposition party that is calling press conference to shout at government. That one we said we do not do that. We have allowed that to be done by the government wing that is based on Karen Road, meeting delegations and complaining about government. But we want to be proactive and working with government and working with other institutions to ensure that we get solutions for Kenyans.
Okay.
I think that's what we are doing, and I think we urge Kenyans, and we urge Kenyans to rally behind ODM in its push to resolve some of these things, albeit from outside government. Yeah.
All right. Governor Mutua, you're dealing with this firsthand at the county level. Is this the time to have this conversation that ODM is now pushing?
I think it's very important for us as colleagues, it's very important for us as a country not to make the same mistake that they made in India. And you saw what happened in India, with so many people dead in the streets and full crisis in India. We cannot just reopen the economy just because we feel like things are tough. Things are tough. What we need is to have a criteria. And we tell Kenyans, if this and this and this is done, or these indicators go up to this level, then we open up to here. If they go beyond this level, they open. Then Kenyans will be monitoring. Tumefika wapi leo? Zile bar zimefunguliwa, watu wameanza kupata tena. Tufungeni bar. Because tukiendelea hizi na rise, tutafunga tena. So Kenyans need to be given standards. Waambiwe A, B, C, D. Tuko D. Ikienda mbaya ifike C, tunafunga hapa. So for us to be able to open it, we need to have clear standards. The other thing is that also, I went to Nairobi Hospital. I had a patient, a relative, who had contracted COVID. And his insurance allowed him to be in Nairobi Hospital. And they have a wing. And I met a doctor. And this doctor told me the cases they are seeing in that hospital and the people who are dying are people who are unvaccinated. If you're vaccinated, you get sick, you're out in 2-3 days. If you're vaccinated, chances are high you never end up in hospital. So we really have to vaccinate our people. And then we have to do like what Israel did. Vaccinate a certain percentage of people such that you know the society is okay. Then you open up. Because people want to make money, people want to have jobs, want to move. But we can't go the way of India. We can't start just doing things recklessly. And then before you know it, we're overwhelmed. We're nearly overwhelmed the other day. People are dying in corridors because they could not get oxygen. It's very bad watching your relative die, or you're there, you're dying, you can't get oxygen. Why? Because all the oxygen tanks are already being used by other patients with COVID. That is why these measures are put in place to ensure that we are not overwhelmed in whatever that we do. But it's very important, even as we pump money into the economy, to think about how we're reviving this economy. I mean, there's a big uproar about saying matatus can now carry full capacity. And is that good? Is that bad? To the matatu sector, they're feeling, yes, this is money, people are being paid, it's going around, but what is that doing for COVID? But then you ask yourself, I don't know that you've flown lately. You've flown lately? Yes. It's a contradiction, because when you go to get your flight booking pass, they really insist you keep 1.5 meters away. Some tu kwa counter, ukisongea kidogo naambiwa rudi nyuma, una sanitize. Lakini ukiingia kwa ndege, hata mjuani ni nani, mko hapa kwa hapa, hapa kwa hapa, mko tu hapa kwa hapa. You know what I mean? So we also have to look at these contradictions that we have in our life and say, if they are sitting that close in planes, it means that people in planes don't have COVID. Only people in matatus have COVID. But you see, it also comes down with our measures, because even as you get into the plane, you sanitize. You have to wear a mask. You cannot remove a mask throughout, a proper mask. And all these things. So it's a process that we need to be able to go to. But lastly is that to grow this economy and to make it easier, we have to now start being smart. We've been using the traditional ways of growing the economy. We're saying, let's open 24 hours, let's do this. Why can't we look at other avenues of doing things differently, so that we can grow the economy by spurring the, we look at what is happening in ICT, we look at what's happening, how can we create more jobs. So let's live within COVID measures and make sure that we benefit, but we think smartly. That's why I've always called for a conversation. I've always said that this country needs a conversation of all stakeholders to discuss about the economy. We say we have COVID, this is a condition, we have lockdowns. How do we develop this economy? And people will say, remove this bureaucracy from the central bank. Remove this bureaucracy of registration of companies. Remove this bureaucracy of at customs in Mombasa. Remove this bureaucracy, things will flow faster. Remove these roadblocks. Do these things. Money will travel, and people will feel better within the COVID environment.
Okay. Ometangi?
Yes, Trevor.
Is this a conversation we should be having at this time, or we still stay the way?
Big discussion here on that topic, Trevor. How do we approach our economy? I think there are facts that we need to be alive to, Trevor. At the end of this process, when finally the world may exhale and say that we are done with COVID, it's behind us, You know, what will have happened, Trevor, is one, that there will be such a major readjustment of the global economy that it will be very, very difficult for one to just analyze it and believe it. You know what will happen or what's happening? If you look at all the countries, especially in the West, that have invested and have maintained their industries in technology, production of vaccines, and so on, they have invited a flow of money into the economy by virtue of the fact that all other countries around the world are sending their money to their economies to boost those economies when purchasing those vaccines, test kits, and so on. It is the whole world. So when you hear about Pfizer, when you hear about Johnson & Johnson, when you hear about India and its AstraZeneca, those economies have opened their mouths and gate wide, and everybody is pushing their resources to them.
Yeah.
The question, in my view, that other countries would be asking ourselves about is, then what are we supposed to be doing in the meantime? Because yes, we could be told that most of those vaccines at the end of the day are being donated, but most of them are still being bought. They're being bought. Test kits are still being bought. And so how do we sustain what we are doing? I believe that we must have serious thoughts about the kind of economy first that we want to continue to have. You know, we've continued to have an economy that you would call a hardware economy ourselves, while everybody else is at the software level. And that is why you find we are crying right now, because it matters so much when you have not opened bars at night. You know, it matters so much when you have not people roam, not let people roam the cities at midnight. You know, the so-called 24-hour economy. But you find that most of those other countries, because they have invested where they should invest in leveraging the economies with the reality of the new today, then you find that their suffering is minimized. That's why you find people are told to go and work at home. But how do you tell a shopkeeper to work at home? You get what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. How do you tell a matatu driver to go and work at home? That's our economy. Yeah. But you can tell a software developer to go and work at home. That's how they have invested in the economies. Yeah. And that is why we as a government and as a country must start having a serious discussion as to where do we want to direct this country if we are serious about growing our economy and helping our people, Trevor. Look at even the basics, because sometimes I even ask myself, are we real? Because we have so much discussions about let people not, people should not meet, people should, but who is being forced to follow these laws? Yeah. When we talk about lockdowns and closures, we are talking about the church, because the church is compliant. Who else is compliant? Are politicians compliant? Look at what you've been seeing around the country. I mean, when you tell the common person that we are suffering because of COVID measures, you know, Wananchi will just scoff at you. Ask, I mean, what are you telling us? Okay. Because you are out there on the roads, you are campaigning, doing what, and then you are telling us to stay in the house, in our houses. I think we have blown hot and cold on this matter too much. Yeah. And as we discuss, should we then reopen the economy, we must first empathize with what is happening on the ground. You know, our people have suffered. For real, our people have really, really, really suffered. Mm-hmm. And it is hard. I was listening to a school teacher the other day. They were trying to impress upon me how tough it is. Yeah. And you know, a teacher has got an expectation from a parent that parent is going to come with 20,000 to pay for school fees. The parent comes with 1,000, and they don't have any other money. Okay. Mm-hmm. They've not been able to make it, and they can't go and rob or steal from anywhere. That is the reality that is facing our people today. Yeah. And so I think it is good we can talk about safety, we can talk about how to take care of our people, but let's not just talk about taking care of our people by closing their doors and telling them remain indoors. Okay. We must have a comprehensive plan. So I believe the conversation to say that there should be modulated calibrated reopening of the economy, targeted, such that you know what do you need to reopen.
Yeah.
But the big call to ourselves who are in position, not only in government but in leadership,
Yeah.
is to lead from the front.
Okay.
Is to lead from the front
All right.
and ensure
Yeah.
that we tell our people and show our people
Yeah.
that yes, because this is what COVID has taught us, then we have to start changing gradually.
Yeah.
To ensure that we can even eat from home. Because things are going to change, Trevor. Allow me to make that point as I finish. That,
Yes.
that indeed, now things are going to change. Those people who moved out of offices and went to work at home,
Yeah.
it is going to be very, very difficult to attract them to go back to the office. They have found a new way of working at home and earning their money there. People have innovated.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the sales of Amazon, and I hope you follow global trends anyway, because you're a sharp person. If you look at the sales of Amazon, Jeff Bezos went into retirement the other day. Because within that span of COVID, my friend, that guy with his company selling those things online that he sells when he's in his house, he made billions and billions, such that the shares of his company now allowed him within that span to say, Kwaheri, I'm gone, I've now retired. Because what other money is he expecting to make when the sales that he has been making has more than tenfold increased? Because that is where the economy is going.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? So I think we must start thinking seriously.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last week, I'd like to hear your views on something that happened last week. The deputy president was meant to go. You haven't talked about this? Okay, go ahead.
What I just wanted to say is that how do we safely open economy after COVID, this pandemic? One is that the statistics of vaccination in the country is not doing very well, because we are less than 1 million. I think that according to the last projected, we are 1.3% vaccinations have been done, full vaccinated Kenyans. And yet, according to population housing census, we are 47.5 million Kenyans. The government had indicated that they are importing around 10 million doses from Johnson & Johnson. We have seen donations from various donors through AstraZeneca and many others. And I think I want to commend the government. The other day I've seen mass vaccination across the city, and media have been covering.
Yeah.
I think what we need to encourage Kenyans is that you need to be fully vaccinated, so that, as my brothers have said, you don't suffer the devastating effects of COVID. But the sad reality, Trevor, is that in the villages we are losing many of a lot of older people, the elderly. And I remember there was a case even here in Kiambu where a family, I think they lost both their parents, and it is so sad. So we need to tell Kenyans that I don't know whether it was a populist move to allow public transport to reopen fully, to carry full capacity. I don't know, but I think for us who have been using air flights, you realize you are being told social distance.
Yeah.
But when you are in air, I don't know, maybe COVID does not exist when you are flying until you land. So I think as a country, we are not doing very well.
Yeah.
According to Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, we were being told 1.7 Kenyans lost their jobs because of COVID. You remember people who used to work in hospitality industry, like waiters, waitresses, those people who depend 24-hour economy. You have people who used to operate at night, borders.
Yeah.
So I think from where we sit, in as much as we want to reopen the economy, we must be careful so that we reopen in a safe way. But the question is, I saw your story yesterday on Citizen in the evening, that how will elections happen with COVID pandemic?
Yeah.
So it is also a very serious issue. I think what Senator Kimani Wamatangi is saying is true. How do we live in the new normal? Because life must go on. Elections must happen, economy must reopen. Our children have gone back to school, albeit many parents were complaining because of school fees they could not pay. Some of them have lost their jobs, some of them are relocated in the villages. So I think, and as much as we must, now we are weighing between the economy and public health safety.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I agree that the economy should be reopened because many young people would want to go back to the manual jobs. But the point that we are trying to make is that how do we do it? Finally, the government, there were caution that was put in place, like kazi kwa vijana, kazi mtaani, many others, cash transfers. Those are issues that will caution the vulnerable in the society. And finally, we were never being told about the donors. There were donations that were given.
Yeah.
I wish those donations could be now transited to buy vaccination. And I want to finally encourage companies like Royal Media Services, Safaricom, these big companies. When you go to the West, it is big companies who are buying vaccines and then they lure you in courts and encourage people. They are the ones even leading vaccination. So I want to encourage corporate companies outside government that they should join the fight and buy even vaccines like here, RMS, even other organizations. They buy their own vaccines, liaise with the public health sector. They also participate in vaccination so that, because when the country is closed, it is the same companies who will not make money. So they must join government in these efforts of ensuring that we vaccinate, assist government so that we reopen our economy and our people go back to their jobs.
All right. Finally, I'd like to hear just one line from all of you on this conversation. Last week, two things happened. One, the deputy president was stopped from going to Uganda. Two, a business person, Aidin Harun, was supposed to be the deputy president, was deported. In fact, the deputy president tweeted something saying, just talked and apologized on behalf of the government of Kenya to Aidin Harun, now in Turkey, who was politically arrested, tortured, and falsely profiled as a terrorist, but later asked to fly out, not to shame those involved. Political pettiness is expensive, dangerous, and will destroy our economy. Then he put there in caps, shame. This is not about an individual, it's about the rule of law, process, and perception. And this is what he had to say.
If you want to compete with the hustler nation, please assemble a semblance of a program or a policy or an agenda so that you can compete with us. Otherwise, hiyo mnauza fear na uoga mnauza iko na shelf life. In another 2-3 months, hiyo bei ya uoga itakuwa imefika zero na mtazama.
Atandi, what do you make of this? And like I mentioned, it's not about the deputy president, it's about the rule of law, process, and perception. When that happens, the government deports someone, the deputy president, second in command, apologizes on behalf of the government. What's going on here?
It's not just about the rule of law. It's about the kind of politicians, leaders we have in the country. I think what this really brings out is that DP is not a person of principle. Because if he was really a leader of principle, he would not be sitting as a deputy president and still complaining that people are being harassed, and again going back and saying that, apologizing on behalf of government. You know, there's this issue that really needs to come out, and people who think that Deputy President Ruto can become a good leader in this country are misguided. And this really has exposed him as somebody, as a leader who is a coward, you know, who cannot even make a step, cannot make a decision. This issue, it's a very serious issue, and I think Kenyans are going to use this issue to judge whether Ruto is the best person to become a president or not. And I think Kenyans have already made up their mind. You cannot, you know, be denied an opportunity to leave the country as a deputy president by the very government you serve, and then you come back and sit back and say, we leave it to God. What is that? So I think this issue, Trevor, we have discussed it in all major forums, and I want to say that that this issue has exposed the deputy president as a coward, as a man who Kenyans will never trust with the public office, as a person who is ready to use public office to engage in criminal activities, as a person who is only interested in his own welfare, as a person who is using his office to profiteer himself. Because in this story, when he was interviewed, he also said that he made a phone call for this particular guy to go and do investment in Uganda. What does that say about a deputy president who wants to become president? You want to transfer investments to another country, and yet you are claiming that you have the interest of the people that you lead, and you want to lead in future. So I think for me, in a nutshell, what I would like to say is that this thing has exposed Ruto very badly as a man that Kenya should never trust with leadership position, because he's a coward, he's a fence-eater, he cannot face his boss, and he cannot even resign from that office. He fears to sit outside government. He would like to sit in government and complain while using government resources, but when he's told to step aside and take a critical decision, which other leaders, by the way, in this country have done. When Raila Amolo Odinga disagreed with Kibaki, he left government. You know, when Jaramogi Odinga disagreed with Kenyatta, he left government. And this is really the kind of leaders we want. We want leaders of principle, not leaders who want to depend on, who sit on the fence for the sake of survival.
General Gay?
It's laughable listening to my brother. One is that Deputy President Dr. William Ruto has been entrusted before by Kenyans with a public office. He served as a laureate note.
Not to serve himself.
Let him finish.
Of course, I didn't interrupt you. For the last 15 years, he was a member of parliament. He has been the president for deputy president, sorry, for more than 9 years. And from where I sit, I don't see anything that warrant the deputy president to resign. Let me put some facts straight. One, in the history, and you know, my brother, I can school him kidogo about the law. This is not the vice president, he's the deputy president. He was elected alongside President Uhuru Kenyatta. When Wafula Chebukati was issuing the certificates, he issued certificate to Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. Unlike the likes of Jaramogi and Kalonzo Musyoka, the appointment letter to be the vice president was signed by President Kibaki or President Kenyatta and then, or President Moi. So there is a huge difference between being a deputy president and the vice president. Number three, the deputy president, when you ask about the issue of iodine and the rest, we saw it is in the public domain that he had a government permit. Why would a government which has all the functionaries and the systems and networks issue a permit to say, Trevor, for example, you are clear to do business and do everything in Kenya, and they have done a background check. Even as when you are being issued with an ID, with anything in this republic, you must go through a rigorous process. Yeah. Even registering an NGO, registering a company. So does it mean government did not know who they were issuing the permit with? Number four, no one has issued, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Inspector General of Police, DCI, or DPP, has issued a comprehensive statement on the whereabouts of iodine. What offense did he commit? Because we need to be fair. As we have said, it's not about William Ruto, it's not about iodine, it's about the rule of law and procedures. If you arrest somebody, even if we were to process, all of us have been arrested. I think him, because he's in government, he has never been arrested like some of us. You are arrested, you are put into occurrence book, you are being processed. It is the OCS and necessary DCIO will take you to court because the Republic is the complainant. They lay a charge sheet before you, you deny, or you accept, and maybe you are fined, and the process of that. So I agree with you. The point Kenyan should be told is, where is this iodine? The government says it arrested. What happened? What offense did he commit? Why would you lie? And therefore, I think from where Deputy President sits, is very right. It's about rules, procedure, the rule of law, because we wouldn't want to say, because so-and-so does not agree with my political ideology, why would you threaten the investments of a country? Yeah. Let us differ on issues of politics. But then when it comes to the investment, when it comes to protecting other interests, and I can assure you, Trevor, the reason iodine was being told by the senior government officials in this republic to sneak at midnight is because there was a lot of diplomatic pressure. There was a lot of uncomfort, and it was going to embarrass the architects who were trying to address this gentleman. Okay. So from where I sit, it is not about iodine or investors. It is about undermining and fighting the deputy president. And this betrayal politics will one day, an intimidation and blackmail. I can conclude by saying that when you see, it is not the first time that we are being intimidated, we are being blackmailed. You see allies. All of us, I have court cases. There are many people who have been arrested before because of just close association with the deputy president. There are many people who have committed offenses more than others, but yet because they are in the right books of government, they have not been done. Okay. So finally, I want to say, finally, is that we must agree as a country to respect the rule of law, regardless whether you are in power. There is a saying that said, before I allow you, that you should make a law that you are so comfortable with that even if your worst enemy uses that law, it cannot destroy you. So from where I sit, I want to encourage people in power that they might be drunk with power, but time will come when they will need to be accountable. Yeah.
Governor Mutua, what do you make of this?
When I was government spokesperson and look at the history of Kenya, we've had a very interesting relationship with Turkey, and we've deported quite a number of people. You know, there was a leader in this country that was whisked out at night, and I think he's in jail in Turkey right now. And the issue of terrorism in Turkey is alive. Not so long ago, I think about a month ago or so, Turkish citizens were arrested and were locked up, and I think one is either in court or has also been shipped home. So there's a big problem, and Kenya has been grasping with issues of terrorism and other issues of state-sponsored you know, interactions with Turkey.
Yeah.
And so whenever issues of Turkey come up, it's critical. You know, this person was Turkish. Having worked in government, having known how the NSIS works and everything works, I take it as important when they say that this person is involved in terrorism. There was a claim that the money that they got, and they're trying to do, what do you call it, that money laundering, cleaning money, and you know money is cleaned even for terror and other things. So I don't know whether they're guilty or not, but it's important for Kenyans to have that background, that Turkey is in the red list in this country, and Turkey residents in terms of terror. And every month or so, we hear Turkish residents and citizens being arrested and shipped back home. So this is not the first one. Okay. The question is the Deputy President aware of this? The other question is, I was chatting with a friend of mine called Fred Opolot. He's an MP in Uganda. Bear with me. And his friend and colleague Sam Opolot about investments and how Uganda is doing and everything. And it's also surprising because 15 billion investment being flown to Uganda, and Uganda is a great country, and I like Ugandans to succeed. And I wonder whether we can be shown by the nation, as they call it, the wheelbarrow nation, where they can show us of factories they have been able to set up in this country that have employed 70,000, 100,000 young people with that amount of money that they are taking to a different country, that the president is so worked up, deputy president is so worked up about. He's flying with a foreigner, getting money from here to go and invest in another country to get them jobs, which is okay. It's okay, but charity begins at home. How many factories has he been able to bring investors to here in Kenya that he can today stand up and show us? Even if they are Turkish investors, what can we see about him providing jobs? Or is it about business deals? Is it about following the money? Is it about conning people? So those are the conversations that run through my mind. But even in terms of processes and everything, the government has processes. If you are told you cannot fly with this person, we didn't see the deputy president saying, okay, let this person remain, let me fly alone. He didn't, because now had he been stopped from flying alone, then it would be a problem. You know what I mean? But he said, if this man is not flying, from my understanding, then I am also not going. So in other words, he's tied to the umbilical cord. It was not his visit. It was this person's visit. And maybe this person is banned in Uganda, and they are finding a way of transporting him to Uganda using the deputy president's private jet.
Ometangi, as we wind up on this.
Yes, Trevor, of course, I don't have the hard facts about what really transpired on that day, so I'll be commenting on this from what comes out from the media. But a few things to say. First, I think this is an hourly conversation for us to have at this time, especially if you ask me, Trevor, from the backdrop of the few things we were discussing a bit earlier. I mean, it is so pedestrian. It is so, unuseful, if you ask me, to the agenda of this republic, gauging by where we are and where we want to go, and the issues that are affecting our people, that this is a discussion and a topic that should not find its way on the table of top leadership in this country. It shouldn't. I mean, why would we be prioritizing about talking about individuals? If you told me that this discussion was about the relationship between the Kenyan country and the government of Turkey and how it is going to affect our bilateral trade and whether we are not going to get vaccines, or what about that government and our government, then that would be a topic worth discussing. But because it is here, we could say a few things about it. I want to say two things. First, I think it has to be clear that when it comes to the issues of travel for the deputy president, as the deputy president of this country, then it is my view, other than if what was said that maybe there were documents he didn't have, or a document that was supposed to be there, if indeed that is so, then that would be the reason. But otherwise, for him to be able to travel, to move to where, that has got to be safeguarded. It is his right to travel. and he should do so in dignity. And like everybody else does travel, that should be accorded to him. He's the deputy president. He should be able to travel, and there absolutely should be no restrictions unless, of course, as I saw one of the interviews that was done with the senior officer at Interior, that indeed then there was a document he didn't have. So I think we need to be clear about that. But number two, and because probably from where I sit, maybe when Senator Cherargei and others engage with the Deputy President on such a matter, maybe they may find reservations of telling him truthfully where the position and mind of the Kenyan people is on this. I think I could help him because I respect the Deputy President a lot. He's been my friend for a long time. I have tremendous, respect, knowing that he is the second in command, and that indeed he's given that mandate by the people of Kenya. But on this one, I respectfully tell him that he is very wrong on this. On this one, he's wrong, because it is not right. It does not sit well with Kenyans when our second in command is talking about an individual and about deal making in another country. And if he was to be, advised well by even those that are close to him, they would be telling him that this is a subject that he should drop, that he does not need to talk about, that he needs indeed to put behind him and now re-engage with Kenyans on the agenda of building this country. Because when the agenda on the table is about an argument that there was a guy, and when I started hearing these names about Ayadin, I've heard Nani Cherargei mentioning it correctly. It brought to my mind, you remember the sagas of Akina Atur Magarian and Saragasian and those names. Yeah. That's the impression it creates. And it is not good for us. This is not good for us. And especially when it is associated with our deputy president, that he is the one who was doing this, he had carrying this man, money, big monies, that are being mentioned, going to another country. I would be happier if they were talking about this agenda, about how they are going to build our country and how he's going to engage with our president and the government and mend fences and go and engage the government of Turkey and build, our country and give jobs to the so many jobless who are here. So I think because nobody is right all the time. And as I think it was my presidential colleague here was saying the other day, that a broken clock is only right twice in a day. Yeah. That's a famous quote that was associated to President Clinton. Yeah. I think it is important to advise the deputy president that he has been right on many other things in the past, but on this one, he is very wrong. All right. Yeah, I think he needs to drop.
All right, gentlemen.
And the perception, the perception is, one of the reasons people take, you are big, so you can take your own flight. Yeah. But there are many flights to Uganda. So if the deputy president was stopped from taking his private jet, he could just have gotten a ticket on Kenya Airways like the rest of us and gone to Uganda. This man, but you see, the reason they want these private jets, the perception out there, is that they were carrying hordes of cash. And it's very hard to carry hordes of cash that you cannot account for, that has to pass through those machines at the airport. That's a perception. That's a perception. Because you have to ask yourself, why then, kama mmekatazwa kwenda ndege yenu, you have your passport, you have your PCR test, you walk into KQ, Jomo Kenyatta, get into a plane and go to Uganda. They could not have stopped you there. They stopped the aircraft from taking off from Wilson. But kama umebeba pesa you cannot account for, unapeleka nchi nyingine, unajua zitapitia kwa hiyo x-ray, it becomes a problem. That's just a perception. I don't think so. Just a perception. Okay. I talk to people, I know people. Okay. So I talk to people and I listen to their perception.
But the interesting thing is that these things that my presidential, the side of the presidential candidates are working on a dangerous path. Because they are working on presumptions. A presidential material should be telling the government, can you give us evidence? What was, if he's alleging that there was money, a lot of money being carried, is it hard for the police to tell the country?
It's hard.
It is not hard. He should, then if it is that, the deputy president, why did you prevent him from leaving the country? It means there is people who are powerful in government that should have given us more facts. And I'm just saying, is it too many to demand? And I think my presidential candidates should get this right. is that is it hard to demand he has been a government spokesperson. Was it hard for the Inspector General of Police or Ministry of Interior to issue a concise and precise statement on what really happened? Because if we allow, you know, we are behaving like the market women who are just discussing anything and everything. But if the government would have issued a statement, say, iodine is this, blah, 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 the reason Deputy President, we would have something to hold on. But if we're using perceptions like my brother is saying, it's dangerous for the country.
Okay.
Trevor, I don't think it's fair for the DP to use his position in government to engage in crime. You know, he's leveraging on his status.
What is his crime?
So that, you know, as DP, he can, you know, fly to another country. He should not be checked. You know, when you're a DP, you know, you're not even checked. He even complained that whatever was done to him on that day has never been done to him since he became a DP. That means he's been using his status as DP to leveraging on his status to engage in, get away with so many things like crime. So I think this is, the governor is right.
But which crimes has the Deputy President committed?
Okay, gentlemen,
you know,
we have to leave it there because now this is perception. We have to close it there. Thank you so much for making time this morning.
Closing remarks.
Closing remarks.
We've really run out of time.
No, I need to make
a
closing
remarks.
one closing
If
remark.
you agree with 5 seconds
Yes.
each.
5 seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me start in saying I have 2 points. One point is about Council of Governors. We are crying out about drugs availability at KEMSA.
Yeah.
We don't even have drugs called metformin. We don't have injectable painkillers. We are lacking gloves, and the law does not allow us to get these items from outside KEMSA. So we need a revision of that law to allow us to build those things. Second thing is that there's something I heard in the radio this morning. I was laughing about what Kenyans Google about.
Yeah.
And Kenyans Google about love. They Google about how to make love, how to kiss, how to fuliza.
This is watershed, Governor.
how to cook pilau,
This is
how to write an
watershed.
application letter. Yeah, it shows about, you know, Kenyans were interesting. But I want to say that in everything that we talk about in life, and this is very important, and when you hear these discussions that we're holding, it is important to note and even look at what people are Googling, that people at the end of the day are looking for a way of living well.
Yeah.
And a solace, and a way to be respected and to mean well. And this is where, whether it's politics, whether it's personal, whether it's business,
Yeah.
we have to learn to accommodate each other. We have to learn to forgive each other and be able to move properly so that people do not take each other for granted. And that happens. And you see, that's why we have all these conflicts that are there, because you hear people are not able to give their word. And it's important, they say your word is your bond. You give your word and you're able to do that, because I do believe that when we have everything there, everything ends well, because patience is critical.
All right. Gentlemen, we have to
Patience is
leave it there.
critical.
Thank you so much for making time. We'll do this again next week.
I thought everyone was going
It's time
out.
for cooking tips now. We'll continue with this up until 10 a.m. So let's just leave it at that point. All right. See you in a bit.